Okay, so we're back to the segment of Ask Steve Anything. I got hundreds of comments. Let me just get to the section. I haven't really looked yet, so we can have an element of surprise. Oh my God, Jennifer Norris, let's go. What is your favorite color? Black, actually. Red, gray, silver. Why did you choose American Shorthair as your breed? Actually, I started out with Bengals in the 90s, and when I moved to the United Kingdom in the 2010s, there were no American Shorthairs there, just tons of British, and so that's how that started, and I really fell in love with the breeds. What is one cat breed that you would love to see at a show that you haven't seen? Like, I don't see Turkish Vans very often. Okay, Deborah Gilbert, here's a tough one. She says, hi Deborah, what's the most dramatic cat rescue you've ever experienced? Oh, that's a good one. That's actually, for me, here is Lady Bunny, who we still have. Lady Bunny came out of the bushes a couple years ago, and you know when the kittens come out of the bushes or without their parents, like literally, like you have very little time. Middle of the summer, covered in fleas, covered in bugs, like emaciated. I mean, cataracts in her eyes and infections in her eyes. I still think she still doesn't have sight in one eye, but she's now the biggest pain in the ass in the house. Like, she forgets where she where she came from. But that was pretty awful. I honestly didn't think she was gonna make it. You know, so yeah, that was at least 3 summers ago, I would think. Have you ever trained a cat to use a toilet instead of a litter box, and does it even work? I personally have not ever trained a cat to use a toilet. To be fair, I suppose, I mean, I've always lived in a smaller, not smaller, but I mean like a place where I don't think there was an extra toilet floating around. But I suppose if you have a room that is not being used by a human, it might be okay. But I've seen people people use them with no issues, and it seems pretty easy. Sarah Elizabeth, do you include dental health when you judge a cat? If not, please do. Sincerely, Cats Only Vets. Yeah, I mean, dental health is really important, as well as dental structure, I guess. You know, all cats need to have a level bite, not over, not under, not side to side. I mean, needs to be as level as possible, especially cats that have shorter faces. Unfortunately, pedigree cats have some pedigree cats have a higher problem with their gums and inflammation. So, you know, getting a dental is very important. But we do, if a cat is clearly red and in the gums and has like severe issues, you know, that can absolutely work against them. From Katarina Arista Brock, I'm in Houston and we take care of a lot of babies, I'm assuming kittens, here recently. I needed a kitten euthanized and cremated. The kitten was really mild and sweet, and it's a regular vet we go to. They wanted $750 to euthanize and cremations. That seems high to me. What do you think? Ugh. You know, living in Europe now, or Portugal especially, I mean, when I'm hearing of the prices of veterinary care in the United States, it's really hard for me to swallow. I mean, I've heard in New York City, like a general spay or neuter can be $600 to $1,000. It's really kind of crazy. I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that. It does seem high to me. Um, you know, here in Portugal, for a general cremation, you know, you're looking, you know, a general mass cremation, unfortunately, 50 to 75 euros. And if you want the ashes returned, 200 euros. So that's pretty economical. So I really can't speak about the US, but I just know that the prices have gotten not out of control. They're there for a reason, I guess. When did you realize this was your path for a career? Well, this was never a career. This was an accident. I've been a cat judge for a long time. I've been involved in the cat world for a long time, since 1990, and I was a cat judge for a different association. This was kind of a side project when I moved to Portugal, to see if we could launch our own association and do a lot more for the rescues, do a lot more for pedigree cats, do a lot more for cats in general, and kind of raise the visibility for them up to the level of dogs. And it just took a wicked start. I mean, and we just became, we blew up really fast, a little too fast, some will say, and I will say as well. So I didn't intend on doing this full time, and to be fair, I had moved from the UK to Portugal, and you know, bought this house, and this was going to be like my retirement. Help cats, take care of cats, do some Airbnb, and call it a day. And here we are with Loving Cats Worldwide. Recommendations on where to start to find ethical breeders of whatever specific breed someone is looking for. Bengals in the Midwest. How how are there good rescues for them? How to find where to start looking? Yeah, this is a really good question. Who are we to say to anybody whether you are a rescue group or whatever. If you want to add a pedigree cat to your life, there are certain questions that you need to ask, and there's not enough talking about this and not enough information about it. So you actually need to. You want to make sure that that cat is added to your life as long as possible. So there are very specific there are some specific diseases where pedigree cats are higher prone to get. So there's a lot of research that's needed. I will do a segment on this at some point of like what questions to ask and what red flags. If you go to a breeder's house and it's not a bad thing if they don't want to let you through the entire house. That's a bit invasive, but they should let you see where the cats and the kittens are raised. If they want to meet you in a parking lot or a car park, like and not bring you to the house, like that's a little bit of a red flag. If the cats are unvaccinated or unneutered and there's no genetic testing behind them, that's also a red flag. The best way to start is at a show, and any show, any organization, someone that's showing a cat, is spending a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money to do the right thing, to see that they are breeding properly against their peers. So that's a good place to start. Although I can never say that I've been to everybody's home, that's always a good place to start because they're going above and beyond for that. But everyone should have one more cat, right? So you should definitely look for rescue. There are good rescues and there are bad rescues. A rescue should obviously be registered with whatever country, whatever government, or whatever nonprofit they have. But you should probably start there. I mean, a good Google search is always a good way. Will you be back in Melbourne? I really hope so. We're looking at venues right now for Australia for 2026. Who was your first cat? My first cat. Well, I had my aunt and grandmother had cats, but I never had this really connection with cats. So my first cat, his name was Alex. He was a Bengal, and he was born in 1990. And that was my first entry into the pedigree world. Bengals were literally not accepted in any association at that particular time. I saw an advertisement in the newspaper. That's dating me, for toy leopards, and I met this really nice couple in New Hampshire, and they had brought in two cats from the creator of the breed, Gene Mill. And yeah, that was my first Bengal, and they were like, oh, you should enter him into a show because the Bengals are needing recognition. I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, and I'm never going to do that. And yeah, let's see how that worked out. In your lifetime, how many cats have adopted you, Lori? Oh, I didn't do any of the names, Cristiano. I guess it's bad, right? Lori Longanter. Yeah, how many cats in my lifetime? My gosh, over 100, I would think. Maybe more. If you want to, obviously I had kittens in the past, but I would say over 100. All my cats I have in my house, unfortunately, are like all kind of the same age. There are some that are 10, 11, but most are like 3 or 4. It's going to be a tough situation in about 10 years, I would say. What are your top 5 favorite breeds of cat? I just did a video on this. Obviously, when you can, rescue. There are hundreds of millions of cats globally that need homes. You can't rescue them all, but you can make a difference to one. And if everybody made a difference to one, we'd have a lot less problems. If you are really keen on having a breed of cat, specifically a breed that fits your lifestyle, like I was in the beginning, and a lot of people are, they are keen towards a Maine Coon or a long-haired cat or a short-haired cat. But I think over time, it's really hard for me to say what my top favorite breeds are, but obviously Bengal breeds that I've had in the past, Bengal, Sphinx, Havana Brown, American Shorthair, Scottish Fold, probably hit the top because those are the ones that I've owned. I had a Munchkin at one point too. But as a judge, we're trained and we look out for who's the best on the day. So, but yeah, I think I'm keen to the ones that I just said, but everybody should have one more cat. And I think that's enough for now, no? We can come back to that.
Yeah, yeah.